Hello everyone, welcome to the Education Diary, day number 1 for the digital forensics. So today we are going to be understanding about the digital forensics. It's one of a very great field into the field of security or cyber security, or even in the field of we can say penetration testings, right? So we are going to be having lots of things into this field, into this like subsidiary field of the cyber security. And of course, we are going to be working on some practical stuffs in the day number 2. So today is day number 1. So we are going to be going forward with some of the introductory things into the digital forensics field. What are some tools which we can use? What are some free or some of the paid tools which you can use? And of course, understanding about the forensics, right? So the field, by the way, as usual, you can read the paragraphs or whatever you want. You can read the things here, but I'm going to be dealing and going to be telling you some things which is just going to be common and giving you some extra facts. So the field of digital forensics actually include about the digital fingerprints, or we can say the passive prints, or we can say the active printing. So the word active and passive printing actually includes your humanoid prints, right? So suppose if you're having the voice recognitions, speech recognitions, you are going to be having emotion detection. We are going to be working on some of the fields like the hand signs, right? So suppose if you're having some sign, if you know some sign language, so that is also coming into the field of digital forensics. Suppose if there is a criminal who just ran away from the jail, and the CCTV camera is actually looking for that criminal. Now, personally, me living in South Korea is something which is really great because the security in South Korea is really, really awesome. Last week, I personally believe so that there was a story that in which an international student left around $400 in her purse, and she just forgot her purse on the street. And after some time, there was a man, a South Korean man, who just came and took up that purse and vanished from there. So when the girl returned there to check out for the purse, so she found the purse, but there was no money in her purse. And within 5 minutes, the police was able to catch the person who was the person, and the money was being returned. Now, this is one of a very great case in South Korea, but if you're going to be taking the importance of this digital era, so in South Korea, we are having CCTV in every street, in every market, in every mart. It can be Starbucks, it can be Burger King, or it can be any place. So you are having a lot of CCTV cameras. Now, in the database, we are having the photos of every person which is being stored into the government database. It can be something which is like Aadhaar in India. So we are having a database in which the digital prints of the people are being saved. It can be faces, it can be fingerprints, or it can be voices, so anything like that. And the CCTV basically recognizes the person. If they want to find a criminal, so they can actually use the CCTV to find a criminal who is roaming around the streets, right? So as usual, the facial recognition is something which worked in this case in South Korea. But suppose if you want to go more into deep, so we can use voice cloning or something like deep fake technologies to make some of the things which are not appropriate. Now, in order to prevent these things, or in order to counter all these things, so we are having something which is the name digital forensics, in which we actually try to find the difference between the original and the fake. Or we can use this technique to find someone that who is a criminal, or we can use these techniques to find something in a video or in a surveillance in a live camera, like something like guns or knives, which can be used by criminals in order to prevent these type of attacks during the fights. Some of the very great techniques in this field is also like difference between violent things and non-violent things. So we basically train a model, we apply that model into the live camera, and the live camera can actually capture the differences between knives or guns, and then it can actually tell to the police, or it can inform the person in charge that this is a violent thing, or there is a fight going to take place. Now, the best part of digital forensics is that suppose if you're fighting, if you're going to be going to be in a fight. Suppose if someone is going to be fighting with you in a street fight, then actually all these techniques can be used to prevent these things. Apart from that, if you want to bypass any of the security systems, so you can also work for the fingerprints or for the voice recognitions, or if you want for the deepfake technology, because as usual the iPhone camera or the cameras are having sometimes a facial recognition feature in which only the person who is having that face can unlock. But if you know the deepfake technology, or you know how to create a deepfake technology or the deepfakes, so you can simply try to unlock that particular device as well. So these are some of the really great concepts. We are having tons and tons of different concepts into the field of forensics, but these are some of the very minors and some of the, we can say, very important concepts which you need to understand before diving into the field of forensics. Once again, the field of digital forensics is a subsidiary of the cybersecurity. Of course, this is going to be using for preventing the attacks or hacks, not doing those things. So the overall session is going to be only for the educational purpose, and of course we are going to be working only in the part of security. We are not going to be working on how to create deepfakes, but we are going to be working on how to check if that is a deepfake or no. All right, so I think so this is just a very basic introduction to the forensics, and this is going to be the second one, which is going to be computer vision and AI. So as usual, here you can see that computer vision and AI as are going to be one of the very powerful tools in the coming time, and especially into the field of the digital forensics. Now the another thing which you can understand is the object detection and classification. So computer vision algorithms can be used to identify objects in a live CCTV camera. As I told you in the previous slide, that suppose if you're having knives or guns, or if any of a fight is going to take place, so the CCTV can understand and it can capture if any of the violent object is in that video, so that it can be prevented. So there are multiple algorithms which we are going to be working and understanding on. As usual, it is not going to be very of advanced course. This is not even a course, this is just a webinar. So today is just the introduction, tomorrow is going to be a practical stuff, right? Apart from that, we are going to be having some image and video analysis. So as usual, the computer vision techniques can actually recognize the differences between images as well as video. It can analyze the video status if it is a violent video or a non-violent video. So as usual, we can upload a video, or we can train a model based on those videos, or we can do the live detection of these things, right? So we are having two categories. We can also upload an image. We can train a model to recognize a gun or a knife in an image, or gun or knife in a video, and let us know that if that video is having any violent object. Same things goes for the training, but for the live, so the live CCTV can be working on that same model. Apart from that, we are going to be having some facial recognition and biometrics. So facial recognition is, again, as usual, I told you that suppose if you want to bypass any of the security system by using some facial recognition techniques, so you can create a deep fake or a deep clone voice in order to bypass those security devices. And the biometrics is once again coming into the field of facial recognitions or fingerprints or the voice recognition. So as usual, nowadays, because of the uprising of AI, we are having tons and tons of tools which can actually create the deepfakes of any of a person. They can actually generate a fake deep clone voice of any of a person. So it's quite hard to understand or differentiate between the original or of deepfake technology, right? So it's really hard for us to recognize. So that's why the digital forensics also use some of the AI tools and algorithms to counterpart or to prevent or to check out what is the difference between the original and the fake one. All right, so this is going to be the computer vision and AI. We are going to be using computer vision tomorrow for the practical stuffs. We are going to be training a model, and I'm going to show you how you can actually train a model. And once the model is being trained, we can use that model in order to differentiate between the live camera, or like as I told you, it can be for images, or we can use for videos, or we can use for the live video. So we have to train the model, we have to test the model, and then at the very last we have to validate the model. All right. Apart from that, as usual, I told you that OpenCV is one of a very great library in the field of forensics. So as usual, OpenCV is an open source computer vision technique or a platform, and it's a machine learning library. So we are going to be using OpenCV tomorrow in order to train the model. We are going to be creating some of the models. So we are going to be taking some of the trained models from the internet. We are going to train our own custom model based on those models, and after that we are going to be implementing our newly customized model into the program, so that if any of the problem happens, so we can actually recognize and can that make it work in our program. Suppose if we just download any pre-trained model, if it is having an error, so it's quite hard because the developer is having the authority of that. So but in our case, we can actually customize, we can check for the errors, and we can implement that. Now apart from the OpenCV, we are going to be having lots and lots of other tools which we can use in order to train the model. It can be TensorFlow, it can be Keras, it can be, as we have gone for the NLTK also, if I'm not wrong. So we were having some NLP techniques. So if you don't have watched that video, so make sure to go and check for that video, which is going to be the natural language toolkit. So we can use some NLTK features also in order to recognize the voice in a live camera. So suppose if someone is saying something bad or something violent or something like not good or not appropriate, so the camera can actually recognize that those words in a voice, and it can actually let the police or the authority know that this is something which can take place in the future time. So all these techniques are actually being used to take evidences, and then they can be used in a court. So if you know that in the court, sometimes the devices like computer systems or the mobiles are being taken by the police after a murder or after any kind of a crime scene. So all these devices are gone through these type of forensic things, so that they can extract the more information from those devices, and the evidences can be submitted into the court, right? So we are going to be working on OpenCV tomorrow as usual. After that, we are going to be having some facial recognition and identification. We are going to be working on practical tomorrow, which is going to be based on facial recognition and identification. Suppose we are going to train a model, we are going to train a database, we are going to upload some photos of different people, and then we are going to be working on real-time camera, or it can be any video, and then the actually program can let us know that yes, this is the person in the video or in the live camera. Now the important thing which you need to understand is that suppose after 10 years or after 15 years, if a murderer or if a criminal is having some facial patterns changement, so suppose if they have grown some beard, or they have shaved their body, or they have shaved some hairs, right? So they basically have changed their appearance after 10 or 15 years. So a criminal do all these type of things. So in that case, also the CCTV can actually recognize that yes, this is the criminal, and the record has been found in a database that before previous or back of 10 years, this person has done this wrong thing. Now this is something which is really great, right? So we are having a lot of applications nowadays which can actually use to change our facial recognitions. They can make us small, they can make us look young, they can make us having beard or something like that. And by using these applications, we can actually train the model, right? That yes, this is my image and this is my different variations. And then once the model actually recognizes me, all right, these can be different variations or combinations the person can have. Then in the future, if I'm all like, even though if I'm going to be wearing a hat or any kind of thing, so the program can actually recognize me, right? So we are having lots of different things, lots of different options which we can go, lots of other alternatives which we can go, but this is the best, that using some free applications to change our facial patterns and then train the model and then upload any of our image or any kind of thing, we change our face, still the model can recognize us, right? Apart from that, we are going to be having some digital artifacts and evidences. So as usual, these are some of the 5, I think so, steps, or some of the 3 steps which you need to understand. First is going to be the workflow. So the workflow is something which is going to be understanding the model, understanding what the program is actually telling, what the model is having. It is having images or videos, and based on that, it is going to classify between the violent or the non-violent or the facial expressions. It can be differentiating between me and someone else, and so on. So we have to understand about the workflow in the field of forensics. Then we have to understand on the usage of the AI and the computer vision. So as usual, OpenCV is a library in the computer vision, but if you go, you're having tons and tons of different libraries in computer vision, like YOLO version 5 or YOLO version 8. So all these actually things tell you about the AI and the computer vision technologies into the field of forensics, and we can use these libraries to train our model, right? The third is going to be the integrity of evidence. So as usual, once actually you implement all these things, or you use all these tools or different methods, at the very last you're going to be having some integrity of evidences. That means you have to maintain your database properly so that your evidences or your this data set cannot be stolen by someone else. So right now also, like as usual, I am working with one of a company in Korea as an intern. So they have actually signed a contract with me, and it's like a 10 or 12 or 15 pages of contract in which we are having so many different options and circumstances that you cannot even share one single thing from that company. And suppose if you are going to share this, then you might actually got a case. They might actually file a case against you in South Korean court. So even after working, even after leaving that company as an intern, after 10 years you are not permitted, or you are not going to be sharing any of the detail, whatever algorithms, whatever programs you are developing, so you cannot share that with anyone. So in that case, we have to understand that we cannot upload any of the that things which the company has given us onto any online cloud platform, even it's a Google collab or whatever. So in that case, it's really hard, it's really impossible, because some of the libraries actually work very perfectly, very fine online, but some of the libraries don't. So in that case, you really have to consider that whatever evidences or data sets you're actually getting, you have to save them. Otherwise, if they are bypassed or if they are stolen or any misuse of them take place, so that's going to be totally based on you. You are going to be responsible for that. Alright, so this is something which was important. Apart from that, we are going to be having some automating forensic processes with AI. So by using AI, we can actually automate some of the processes, some of the forensic processes. So for an example, if I want to create a bash file in the Linux, so in the Linux, a bash file actually can that execute multiple commands by itself. So I just need to create a bash script, and it is going to be executing the commands of Linux automatically without any human effort. In the field of forensics also, we are having some of the very great softwares by the company like GMD Soft. So if you're not familiar with this particular company, go and check on Google. It's a GMD Soft, and it's one of a very great forensics company, which is a South Korean company, and they basically provide some of the very great paid softwares in the field of digital forensics, right? One of the very great tool of that is, like, suppose if there is a car and a car is actually going at a very high speed, and in the car there's a criminal, right? So the number plate of the car is something which is really important for the police to catch the person. And for the number plate is really blur because the car is really fast, or the number plate angle is different. So in that case, we can use some multiple AI algorithms to make it straight, to make it look more clear, to predict, like suppose if there is a number, but we cannot understand from our eyes, but the AI models can actually work on that, and they can actually predict what the number actually looks like. So by using all these multiple AI techniques, the number plate, the number can really be seen by the CCTV, right? So we are going to be having lots of multiple things in this, and they're really cool, I personally believe so. Right, so this is going to be one. Apart from that, we are going to be having some investigative capabilities we have to understand. So accelerating evidence processing is something AI powered tools. So suppose if you create a program and you have a model, you can use the tools, the pre-built tools by the companies, in order to enhance, or that make your this process is super fast. You're going to be having some hidden connections. So as usual, in a video or in an image, there might be something hidden. It can be encrypted, or it can be in a sign language, or it can be in it can be in any language, right? So when you need to understand these kind of things, like suppose if a person says hi, how are you, but for that person, this hi, how are you actually means something wrong, or kind of like a predictive attack. So you need to understand and make a model in such a way that it can recognize the emotions, the sentiment in the voice, right? A pattern in a voice, so that it can actually clarify and it can actually verify that this is the meaning of a person, or a person is not having a good intention by saying these words. So this is something a really huge challenge for the people right now, also for the developers, to develop such kind of things. Still, it's a one of a very great thing. Apart from that, we are going to be having some forensic visualization. So suppose if you create a program, you have the evidences, but you want to visualize in a data set that is, these are something which that have took place last year, like there are 300 and or whatever 300 murders and 300 we can say theft, so something like that. So you have to visualize the differentiation between these two different incidents took place last year. So in that case also, it's a very good approach to learn the Tableau or a really good visualization softwares. Apart from that, we are going to be having some predictive analysis for the investigative leads. So as usual, I told you that suppose in a video or in an image there is a knife or a gun, or a person is saying some bad words, and you feel that in within 5 or 10 minutes there is going to be a fight going to take place. So we have to develop a model which can predict the future, or based on the values the person on based on the words a person is saying. Of course, the words are being taken as the values in a computer system. It can be 0 or 1 as usual, and we can set the values of these words inside the model, and based on the words, how loud they are saying, how that what are the emotions in their language, in the words. So based on that, the CCTV or any kind of other device can predict that this is something which the person is talking about. Apart from that, there are going to be some challenges and limitations of AI powered forensics, so bias and accuracy concerns. So as usual, I told you that suppose if a person is saying a very normal thing, hey, hi, how are you, or are you okay, or I am okay, or a person simply sometimes say I'm gonna kill you, right? So suppose if a person is something saying like this, still it's really hard for anyone to predict that yes, this statement or this line, I'm gonna kill you, is something in a funny or in a joke way, but not in a serious way. So yes, we have some accuracy concerns, and the models do have some biased decisions, so something which is a challenge. Of course, reliance on data quantity. So as usual, if we are going to be having lots and lots of data, there might be a possibility that that data is not the actual data. So suppose if I say about the knife, so a person is cutting the vegetables in the video, or a person is using a knife to open something, a box, or it can be anything, it can not a violent thing. So as usual, this data set is something which is not harmful, not violent, but still the program is going to be taking the knife as going to be a threat in that video, and based on that, based on these videos, the model is going to be that only. So of course, that is something which is really hard, the reliance on the quantity or the data quantity. Apart from that, interpretability and transparency. So as usual, I told you that transparency is a really hard thing into the field of forensics. We are going to be having some different models, some different videos, images, but they might not be a threat. Still, we are using them in order to train our model. At the very last, we are going to be having some ethical considerations. So as usual, we use these multiple AI tools or AI softwares to prevent such kind of deepfake technologies or the voice clone voice. Still, the hackers or the other people who are having a bad intention can actually use these softwares in order to manipulate, and it's something which is really hard in nowadays because of the uprising of AI. And if no one is having the knowledge, if someone is not having the knowledge of AI, so it's really easy for the bad intended people to hack them, or to make a deep fake of them, or make a deep voice of them. So it's a really we can say consideration thing in the field of the security. So yeah, right? So apart from that, we are going to be having some case studies and best practices if you are going to be working in forensics field. So you have to understand about some forensic investigations before moving forward, or before creating a model. Make sure that in which field you are going to be creating a model. Suppose as I say that we are going to make a model in a violent and a non-violent video, or we are going to be working on a facial expressions or the facial recognition between me and someone else. So we have to study and we have to develop the model accordingly. As usual, I told you that suppose if you're taking a video, a wrong video which is not violent, but it is still having a knife, so it is something going to create a model which is not going to be working properly in some cases, right? So suppose if as usual in a house, if your mother is actually cutting the vegetables, it is going to click an alarm that yes, there is a danger. So this is something which can be considered it's really hard to train a model in such a way. So as usual, we are going to be having some interdisciplinary collaboration. So work only with the people you know, work with the person you are sure about. Don't work with the unknown people, so that if you are creating a program or an algorithm or a model, so if you are not sure, you have to work with that person. So please don't work with that person, right? Always have a continuous learning. So as usual, nowadays not everyone knows about the deepfakes or the voice clone technology, or even for the forensics field. So always try to make sure to upgrade yourself or update yourself by time to time in the field of AI, especially in the field of AI, because daily we are having some new tools coming into the market. So previously like last 2 months there was a very hype of the Devin AI, which is going to be the first software engineer. But now as usual, yesterday or day before yesterday, there was being said that it was just a hype, right? It's actually a fake. So yeah, even though we are going to be having a lot of hype that yes, this is going to be coming, or this is a person, this is a deepfake, this is a voice clone, before concluding to the decision, or before going to the output results, try to make sure to verify by yourself, because it's really important, right? So at the very last, we are going to be having some conclusion and future direction. So if you want to go into the field of cybersecurity, you can go into the field of forensics. It's one of a very great field. You have to understand about the devices, multiple devices. It can be multiple operating system, multiple devices, Android, iOS, Symbian, Linux, Ubuntu, or Fedora, whatever. Windows, especially Mac. So all these multiple operating systems, if you are familiar with like how to work on these multiple operating systems, multiple devices, you should be familiar in using multiple devices, right? You can understand about the speakers, or the TV, or the radios, or the transistors, or the especially the laptop or the computers. So you have to have a skill into the different areas, right? So yeah, once actually you know how the hardware of these different devices work on, what is the concept, so you can actually move forward with the forensics. So forensics is not all about only the training of a model and using AI, but it is also based on hardware technologies. So how can you extract information from the hardware, especially from a damaged phone, or how can you recover the things a person or a criminal has deleted from the phone. So all these techniques actually conclude that yes, it's a part of the forensics, right? Tomorrow we are going to be working more into the facial recognition between me and someone else. We are going to train a model, it can recognize me and someone else, and if we are left with some time, we can actually move forward with one another project, which is going to be trying to understand between a violent video and a non-violent video. So this is going to be it for today, and if you're going to be having any questions or concerns, make sure to send email to the education diary, and if you have any doubts, so make sure to comment down so that we can try to reply those questions. Have a nice day, everyone.